I'm Zoe, and this is Paranormal Extraction, and I am your supernatural interviewer. And today we have James, and God bless him. He's coming on to talk about the loved ones from the other side. So here's James. Let's talk to James and congratulate him for coming on. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I know that you and I have had a talk before about this. And it's an amazing story, and I've had my own experiences, but today is all about you. So why don't you talk about the story that we talked about? It was your mother and your aunt, I'm correct, or am I not?
That's correct. With my mother, it was kind of a strange thing. And I was looking over some of the poetry she wrote. And she passed away in 1996. And so a few years later, my father decided to burn this old hope chest that was my grandmother's. Long story short, the house caught on fire. And the house pretty much burnt down.
Yeah, I mean, so how did it catch on fire? Did you have any idea? Did they find out, or?
He put an old hope chest into the wood stove, and the wood stove had a little bit of a crack in it, and the house went up.
Okay, so he had the hope chest, and was her stuff in the hope chest?
The things that were in the hope chest were mainly bags and things that my mother accumulated over the years.
Okay.
He dumped the contents out and decided he was going to burn this hope chest, which was my grandmother's hope chest, so it had a creosote. Needless to say, it caught fire, and the better part of my parents' house burned down. And this is a couple years after my mother had passed away. And so my brother and I were going through the house, and after the fire marshal went through and everything was clear that we could walk in there. And I went into what used to be my bedroom. Now I was married, so I was visiting, and I went into my bedroom, and just ashes, charred, nothing. I mean, and I kicked up what sounded like a coin. Well, I don't know if I can get it on camera, but what it is, it's a religious medal that my mother got in Italy when she went with my dad many, many years prior. Well, it was in the soot and the ashes. I kicked it up and I found this thing. So I continued to walk in there, and my brother's like, James, what are you looking for? There's nothing here. Well, I kicked up this envelope, and in it, I took it out of the envelope now, but in it was a whole bunch of my mother's poetry that she had written over the years to Salesian missions and all different agencies trying to get published. And it wasn't even so much to get published for money, just she had a major love for writing.
So you mean, so when you were in there, you kicked up this medal, okay, which was odd because everything was gone. And then after that, did you find the full pages? And
this was in a bigger manila envelope that's kind of like beat up.
So, and that wasn't charred at all?
No.
Wow. And you kicked it up out of the ashes?
And in that bedroom at the time was, it was burned down, but in that bedroom initially, when the fire started, was my bed, my closet with all my clothing, everything was gone. The bureau that was there, my armoire, it was all burnt. And all that was left was a whole bunch of rubble, like ashes and stuff. And the religious medal on one side, I guess more than on this side, you could see kind of like the charred marks on it. And,
yes.
It was kind of a weird thing, and then that I could see in a fire but to find this thing with all this poetry in it, and it was all these things, poetry she wrote to my father when they were first married, and poetry that she wrote about religious things, about holidays, and then she got creative and she started to write. We did a Christmas cards together for many, many years. The photo on the front was my work. On the inside was a verse that she would write, and then the card was created by my dad. So it was just things that she did, you know, and just to find all this, you know,
It
there
just,
when there was nothing to the house.
okay, yeah, nothing, and then this was left, and the metal was left. I mean, so what happened when you saw this stuff? Were you what?
I mean, I remember, you know, seeing this metal. I had this metal in my room, and it was a gift that she had given me, and it was one of those metals that I never put on my chain. At the time, I had a really heavy chain, and it was one of those things where I just never put it on this chain that had all the kind of religious metals on it, and so that was at my home. Of course, at the time, you know, I'm married, so you know, the chain and all those metals were still in my home in northern New Jersey, north of where their home was, and this was the only thing that I didn't add to that chain that was left behind. And to my last of my knowledge, it was on top of the armoire. You know, I had a couple of knickknacks or whatever on top of the armoire, and I just slipped it on the very top of this thing, and that was the last that I remember seeing of it.
Cool.
And well, the next time I found it was in this ashes and charred like rubble.
Wow.
And it's kind of weird because before I came on here, I was looking at some of these poems. And I felt this presence of her, like somebody was in the room with me. And I turned, because I have a wife that's here, and I also have my daughter, Gail, who's 34, she's learning disabled. And I turned kind of slowly, kind of like creepy, because I had the door closed, and not that it was locked, but the door was closed, and I thought to myself, you know, somebody creeped in here without me hearing. I think it was a family member. And I kind of like slowly turned from where I am now at my desk, and well, nobody was there.
Well, we know who was in there. I mean, I know who was in there. Do you
I
think?
mean, physically, it wasn't my wife and my daughter. There was a different presence there.
Did you feel
Yeah.
like it was your mother today when you were getting ready to do it?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
But I was looking at and a lot of these.
So wonderful. That is so amazing.
All of the things that were found in this particular folder, it was in a bigger manila envelope, was in the fire. Okay? Now, I have stacks and stacks of these Christmas cards that weren't in the fire. They were cards that, between my mother's writing and my photography and my father creating the Christmas cards, then she would make up a whole bunch of them and she would mail them to a whole bunch of people. So this is part of the collection of them that she sent to me with little notes in them that I kept each year in my bedroom, in my nightstand. And so I took those out too, kind of like reviewing them all last night.
So what a wonderful experience to have. Now, when you found these, did you have any other supernatural experiences with her after you found it, or did you just find the manila envelope?
Well, that was early December. It was before Christmas. My father was relocated to a hotel for quite some time. And then time went on, and that was the very first week of December, I guess, about 2 years after she passed. And so it was in the spring that I went and had this recipe in my head of her lasagna. And I said, well, I'm going to make it. And at the time, A&P was still A&P. It wasn't Acme yet. So I went to the local A&P that was just a few miles from my home to get all these ingredients. And I had the ingredients in my head. I knew exactly what I needed to make it. And as I walked over to get it, a paper plate flew with a little bit of a breeze. And I, without trying to step on it, I stepped on this paper plate. You know, it wasn't intentional. It just landed at the time that I was making that step onto my foot. So I picked up the paper plate, and on the paper plate, and somebody's writing, it said, "I love you." And I'm like, it was weird. I mean, obviously it wasn't my mother's writing, but it was weird that something like that would happen. You know, I just thought that was kind of like,
Totally.
you know.
So you had all of these amazing experiences that made you believe that there's another side, definitely.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, I can see that in your face, and we've discussed that. Now, I remember about the paper plate. Was there anything else besides when you were going down to get your mother's stuff for her lasagna? It was.
Well, I mean, once I was in the store, it was like, I don't know how to explain it, but for many years when I would travel home from my night job, when I worked split shifts, that was my time to pray in the car. You know, I mean, I have a beautiful statue outside, the Blessed Mother that was hers, and now it's in my yard.
I've seen that statue. I saw the statue with the deer. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I mean,
It is. It's really
that was
pretty.
yet one more. That was yet one more sign, if you want to believe it. Here's this fawn that was just born maybe 4 days prior to that. My neighbor actually had some really kind of crude footage of the fawn being born. So it was maybe 4 days old, and the mother came up and left her laying on, you know, by the Blessed Mother. It was probably hours later that that the mother came back. It was like,
Now, James,
of all places,
don't you think
all
it's
places-
yeah, I know, but don't you think it's a little weird that we talked about an hour after this happened?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then all of a sudden this appears. I just thought it was beautiful. Now
Yeah.
that's not the only time. You also had your aunt visit you.
My Aunt Florence it's one of my mother's sisters. My mother died in January of '96, and in December, like 11 months later, her sister, my Aunt Florence, passed away. And so I was laying here, awake. Didn't eat any crazy kind of food or anything that would make me dream. I was awake. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't hallucinating or anything. And I had this presence of her voice. I could hear her voice. A very distinctive kind of a voice. I don't know how to explain it, but it was kind of like New York kind of a voice. I mean, we were all initially started in the Bronx. And she said, I want you to see this. And I could see this podium, but I couldn't see over it. And I could hear her voice clearly. And I could see that I was awake. It wasn't like I was dreaming. I could see the presence of everything around me. And I could see this podium in front of me. And she said, I want you to see this. It's important that you see this. And the whole time that I could hear her voice, I couldn't see over it to see what she was talking about. And apparently it was really important for me to see this. And I don't really know what the message was for me to see. It was probably something that she wanted to tell me. And I was able to see up to the podium, but not above it high enough to see what was on the podium.
Okay, so is that the only time that your aunt made her appearance?
That was the only time, I mean, that I could think of with her.
Wow.
But with my mother in the car, a lot of times I worked for the same company for about almost 30 years, and nights, meaning 5 o'clock at night, starting until 1:30 in the morning and beyond, overtime, whatever, an hour ride home. And a lot of the time that I would talk to her, pray to her, would be
Right.
on this ride home.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times that I would feel this presence that before I would speak on my ride home. And I mean, I had some honker cars with crummy radios, and I had some really nice vehicles, and I would say 2/3 of its time home, regardless of the vehicle, the radio was off. You know, it was just me and my silence in that
Right.
40-mile ride home.
Right.
And a lot of times I would, feel her presence there, and just have different thoughts about different things that happened, and know that more or less it was initiated by her being there.
Right.
And,
So you definitely know that she's been around now. This has happened throughout many years that you've gotten that. Are you still having those experiences now?
I really believe that just a little while ago that was her presence here.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And I mean, it was like somebody was behind me touching me, and it was like this door was closed.
Well, obviously she wants you to tell your story.
And the fact that fawn was there, that Blessed Mother was my mother's. It was given to her by her father. Grandpa D probably when my parents bought their house in Park Ridge, in the 60s, my grandfather gave her that statue.
Yeah, so that's why.
It was in their yard for forever.
Right.
And so
It took you a lot to move that statue to your house too. We talked about that.
Well, when we did finally move it, my brother had a commercial van at the time. He had his own business for many, many years. And they took the two of us, because it's in two pieces. It's the Blessed Mother, and then there's like a house that's behind it. And so it took the two of us to get it here. And then I painted the house a little bit, in the back part of this like shell, like that the Blessed Mother like is propped in front of. And the statue was never painted, and so I left it as it were. But the background was blue, it was faded, and I painted that. And then on the back part of the house, it was white. I painted that, but the Blessed Mother, I left it. And so after I talked to you, and that fawn appeared at her Blessed Mother. I mean, that was my mother's.
That is just, that's incredible.
I did it to myself. You know, I've been in this home for over 30 years. And that Blessed Mother, I haven't had that many years, but I've never seen an animal at all resting anywhere on the property like that.
Well, so we both had two major experiences. Right after I talked to you, you saw, right an hour before actually, we had our first meeting over the phone, the fawn appeared. And then today, you felt her presence in the room. So I just think that, this story is fabulous and it needs to be told. I think more people should come forward and talk about this stuff. And I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about my story really quick. And I'm gonna try to go a little bit fast. My business partner, Vic, passed away last year. And I was in a grieving process actually for a very, very long time. I could not function. I literally could not function. And one day I was walking around the marina that we have here, and I was literally almost didn't think, James, that I was going to be able to make it around the lake. I really seriously thought I was going to fall down and not be able to make it because of my grief. But I was really trying to get out and do things so I wouldn't be so encompassed in this grief. And I walked down, and there's around the marina, nobody litters, you don't find cigarette butts, you don't find anything. It's a beautiful man-made marina, and the grounds are kept perfectly. And so I'm walking, and all of a sudden on the ground, I see a pack of Vicks cigarettes. Now, this is really odd because he's Native American. He only smoked Native American cigarettes, and a particular brand that he smoked. In front of me was a full pack in its wrapper, not opened at all, laying on the ground in front of me, and it had snow on the ground, okay? It was lightly covered with snow. And I saw that pack of cigarettes, and I picked it up, and it's not something you just get, like Marlboros or anything like that, fully wrapped. And I knew from then on that was the biggest miracle, and it gives me, I want to cry because it saved my life, James. He saved my life just knowing that he was with me. And after this happened, and I'm getting very emotional, more and more things happened like yours, which I won't get into, but it literally saved my life. I didn't think I was going to live. And every day I get something from him, and I don't get like items dropping on the floor, but similar to like what you're speaking about
today, you know, about feeling it, or there's pieces of music, especially music, certain pieces that he really, really liked. I get messages from him, and so I just call him my guardian angel, and I ask him things if I'm worried, and so that's just a quick version, besides him leaving me a full stemmed flower on the path too. That was a long stemmed flower, perfect. No one flowers, okay, not just like someone dropped the flower, it was from like a florist. So it wasn't just things like that. So every time I go to this lake and it's in the exact same space, I always take my dogs down to the area hoping to find something else. And I actually haven't found anything since, but that's my little story, and I know I'm a little emotional. But it does make me emotional. Did you get emotional today when you felt your mom?
Yeah, it was kind of like, almost like where you've been, kind of, it was something that, not a daily occurrence kind of thing.
Yes.
And I guess maybe my focus on what I was about to do, as far as this interview, and yesterday, looking at all these various poetry and stuff, and opening that envelope again, and going to that special drawer that I have all these different Christmas cards that we created together, and I guess maybe there was 2 times that I really brought her out, and the first time was probably with that baby fawn, and
Yeah.
the second time was gathering all this stuff to share with you, and being in this room with the door closed as it is right now behind me.
Well,
And
we're talking about loved ones from the other side, and they want to speak, and that's why I thought it was, when you contacted me, I just thought, I'm so grateful that somebody actually wants to speak about it, because there's so many people that I meet that want to tell their story, just like you right now, James. They want to stand there and they want to tell me about the same things we're talking about, but none of them, very few of them, they're afraid to talk about it. And I'm like, why be afraid? People need to hear this if they're feeling a certain presence or something odd happens, that they can say, darn, that happened to me,
Yeah.
and feel better. I don't get it. Do you get it? I don't get it.
When I found you on Facebook, I was relieved. I mean, because I
Oh,
tried
thank you.
so many different ways to reach out. I went to a James Van Praagh meeting in New York many years ago, after my mother passed away, and the audience was like gigantic. I mean, there was no way that he was going to, reach everybody, and I guess there was stronger vibes of some that really did come through. I tried that, and then I know I told you last week I went with a cousin of mine, with a woman that was maybe half an hour or so away from where I live, that said, well, I can help you to, reach people that, your loved ones. And so I went there with my cousin Kathy,
Fantastic.
and my cousin Julie, Kathy's sister, and then there was only allowed 6 people. So the other people were women that we never knew, we never met. And so when we had this meeting, the woman stipulated that she didn't want any money. And I said, well...
Okay, wait a second. Wait, let's back up a second. James, tell them who James Van Praagh is. Because
Okay,
nobody
well,
knows.
he's
Is he a
somebody
psychic,
that-
or does he reach out to the other side, or?
He has books out as well, and he helps people contact their loved ones from beyond.
Okay. There, now, okay. So you went to, there's 6
when I went there,
people.
there was hundreds of people there, and
Oh, hundreds.
I wasn't fortunate enough to have any contact with my mother, or my cousin's, Kathy with hers. So then, quite a few months went by, and my cousin Kathy told me about this woman that was not that far from us, and I went. So when we went in the door, there were 6 of us, 3 people we didn't know, and the other 3 were myself, my cousin Kathy, and my cousin Julie, the 2 sisters. And the woman said, I don't want any money. She told us ahead of time when we called, I don't want any money from you. I said, well, what do we do? She said, everybody cook something. So, okay, so that's easy enough for me to do.
Well,
So
yeah.
Well, being Italian, I made a good-sized thing of pasta with meat and whatever, and brought that. And so then I bought this angel, because my mother loved angels, and she always was very religious. She wrote about, her feelings about God, and went to church all the time, sometimes twice in a week. So I bought this angel. It was like 5 angels circled around a candle that you lit in the center of it. And so I bought that for the woman, and we all donated food and stuff, and she wouldn't take money, and more or less it was hey, let's all have something to eat, and I'm just going to more or less be around you, and I don't want you to tell me anything about who you are. I don't want you to tell me about your mother or your father, your grandmother. Don't tell me anything about whoever you're trying to contact here. Just, let me be in your presence, and set this food out on the table, and we all ate, and we didn't interact with anybody. I didn't talk with my cousins or the other women about who we were there for or why. We just had conversations about, what we did at work or stuff non-related to why we were there. And oddly enough, my cousin, Kathy, had her meeting with her mother and Julie, and there was 2 little funny stories. One was about an artichoke recipe that my aunt had given to Julie, and the other thing that this woman brought out was about my cousin Kathy, and about this chocolate Easter bunny that was too close to the stove and it melted. And so
this happened there.
These are the stories that my aunt, that she brought out to tell my cousins about her mother.
Okay, so what happened when you were there, when you guys all met up and you had this potluck, and this wonderful woman didn't even charge to go in and do it? What happened? Did anything happen there when you were there?
Well, when I was there, it was kind of a strange thing, because I grew up in the Bronx, and the thing that she brought out of my mom was that she couldn't. My mother was there, and she said, I can't believe that I'm here with Cindy. Well, we grew up in the Bronx. My father bought us a wire-haired terrier. And on the way home from this place that we bought, it was an AKC kind of dog, all the papers and all. We were trying to name the dog. And so my brother and I were in the back seat with this dog. And we were doing all the silly names. And finally, we came across, and it was a female dog, a wire-haired terrier. We came across the name Cindy Star. Instead of Ringo Starr, we named the dog Cindy Star. And so when we were at this woman's house, my mother said, I can't believe it, I'm here with Cindy, meaning the dog. And she said, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And she said, I'm here with Cindy. And I mean, it was nothing none of the conversations that the woman had, each had drawn out at least one story from all 6 people that were there. Never met her, don't know her from Adam.
And she knew about all these things and talked to you about all these things, and she
brought all these things out to us, and
but you never met her. Right. What a bunch of great stuff.
When we got there, she said, I don't want any conversation about why you're here, who you want to communicate with. And she said, all 6 of you, don't talk about who you want to communicate with. She said, I know some of you, 3 of you are related. She said, I don't want to have any discussions, and with this meal, we just kind of talked about just general things, where you work, what you do, things of that nature. And so she brought out at least one thing to each of us from people that had passed. And the 3 other women that were there were 3 separate women that, I don't know if they were related or what, I really didn't get into it, but with them, she brought out different memories, that obviously that they were contacted. Those
So,
were contacted.
What was on your
Obviously,
What was on your paper? She wrote.
basically, the two things that she told me it was about that she couldn't believe that she was there was Cindy with the dog.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's how Cindy came up. Okay.
And I thought it was kind of weird because we had that dog from when we were in the Bronx, and when we moved to northern New Jersey and grew up there, we had the dog till, I guess Cindy was about 17 finally when she died. And so at the time, I was, when she died, I probably was just out of high school, I guess, somewhere around, maybe around 17 years of age, something like that. Or maybe a little older, probably my early 20s, come to think of it. And so it was quite a number of years later that obviously my mother died in '96.
Right.
And so when we contacted with this woman, I'm trying to remember the year, but it was quite a few years after she had passed, and it was after trying to reach out with the help of James von Prague, who is very well known. He was this person that just was very gifted, that realized that she had this talent.
That's what amazing story. Well, I just want to say to you, I really, really appreciate you coming on and telling such a fabulous story. And I know it takes some work on our part, to talk a little bit and then set up the Skype and get it all. But we all know that we can't really, we need to, do our social distancing and do Skype. I even do Skype with people here that are like right down the street. So, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But with you, I wouldn't fly all the way to where you live just to have this meeting right now. I mean, that's quite far, right?
Yeah.
So,
had I known sooner, it's funny because I was in Vegas in October.
yeah, but I don't live in Vegas.
I'd be at least closer.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, and I just want to say thank you so much. And
Thank
you don't have to, we're just going to end it, and then I can continue to talk to you. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And everybody out there, please come forward with your stories, and like James has. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you.